What was it like for Roman soldiers fighting at the Battle of Actium? Have you ever wondered what it was like for Roman soldiers during one of the most significant battles in history? The Battle of Actium took place on September 31 before Christ and was a turning point in the rise and fall of the Roman Empire. This naval and land conflict was marked by exhaustion, strategic challenges, and brutal combat conditions. Roman soldiers at Actium were veterans, having fought in previous civil wars. However, the conditions they faced during this battle were particularly harsh. The battle was primarily naval, with hundreds of ships on each side. Mark Antony commanded larger, heavily armed quinquiremes, which were warships with multiple banks of oars and towers filled with armed men. In contrast, Octavian's fleet was smaller but more maneuverable, crewed by sailors trained in ramming tactics and missile attacks. For soldiers aboard Antony's ships, the dangers were immense. They faced the risk of being rammed, boarded, or struck by projectiles. Many soldiers suffered drowning or death by fire when ships caught ablaze during the fierce fighting. The chaos of naval combat created a terrifying atmosphere for those involved. On land, Antony's infantry and cavalry dealt with supply shortages, fatigue, and desertions. These issues weakened their morale and combat effectiveness. The prolonged campaign leading up to the battle had already drained resources and stamina. Antony's forces were encamped near Actium, but Octavian's control of key locations cut off their communications and resupply routes. This forced Antony into a risky naval engagement. The battle itself was chaotic and brutal. Antony's strategy relied on using his larger ships to break Octavian's fleet. However, Octavian's commanders, including the Admiral Agrippa, kept their forces out of effective range and used superior maneuvering to their advantage. Cleopatra's Egyptian squadron stayed behind Antony's line but eventually fled the battle. This caused Antony to retreat with her, leaving many of his ships and soldiers isolated and demoralized. For Roman soldiers fighting under Antony, the experience was one of facing a better prepared and more disciplined enemy. They struggled with hunger, illness, and low morale. The battle was not just a single encounter but the climax of a long campaign filled with attrition and strategic setbacks. Octavian's troops had the advantage of fresher supplies, superior naval tactics, and higher morale, which contributed to their decisive victory. In the end, Roman soldiers at Actium endured a difficult and dangerous fight. They faced the deadly hazards of naval combat, the strain of a prolonged campaign, and the psychological impact of desertions and leadership failures. Their experience reflected the broader political and military turmoil that ultimately ended the Roman Republic and ushered in the Roman Empire under Octavian.